We have Bryce Papenbrook, who voices Eren Yeager. We have Trina Nishimura, who voices Mikasa Ackerman. And we have Mike McFarland, who is both the ADR director and voices Jean on the show. Welcome, friends. Hey there.
Hello.
All right. Nice.
Hello.
Hello. Very excited to have you all here. I was talking to you during sound check, and we've been planning this for a little while. So first, just thanks for being here. Trina and Bryce, how did you both get cast? And Mike, for you, how did you come into the project?
For me to come into the project, I direct at Funimation on the regular. I'm one of their staff directors. I've done contract work and staff work and whatever with them for a long time. It was a show that I had heard of that had not been placed into a booth for dub production yet. Mm-hmm. And I'd heard a lot of buzz about it and looked into it myself. I'm like, the buzz is justified. This show is awesome. Yeah. So I at least put in my, hey, when this hits, I'd love to do it. And I guess the producers were like, yeah, that sounds good. Mike should do it. As far as me being Jean, I auditioned for it. Seeing that I was one of the people that was up for it, it was put to a committee of producers to listen to, and they were like, yep, that's the dude.
So I initially read for Sasha, whom I love because she loves potatoes and I love potatoes. And I read for Armin, and then I asked Mike who he'd like for me to read for, and he was like, I'd like for you to read for Mikasa. And I was like, well, that's not going to happen, but sure, I'll read for her. And I read for her, and I was incredibly surprised that I was cast. Because so many people wanted to be part of the project and so many people really connect with the show. So I just lucked out, and I'm incredibly lucky to have been cast as Mikasa, and I'm eternally grateful. Thanks, Mike.
I was really fortunate to be able to just read for the show. I was a fan of the show before I got that audition. So I knew what I was getting into. And like Trina, I picked 3 characters. I read for Eren, Armin, and Levi. And when I got the call from Mike that I was cast as Eren, I really tried to play it cool on the phone because we hadn't hung out that much at that point. He was just like, and very professional. He's like, hey, this is Mike McFarland from Funimation. I love what you did in your audition, and we'd like you to play Eren in Attack on Titan. Is that interesting to you, or are you? And I'm like, yeah, thank you, Mike. I can't wait. I'm so excited to do that. Click. Yes! Oh my God! And just fanboy and screamed. And it was just such an incredible moment to start this really amazing, life-changing journey.
Oh, that's awesome. I love how you played it cool. Maybe I could fit it into my schedule, Mike. Yeah, I don't know.
Tuesdays work best. Tuesdays, yeah.
I did kind of want to get from you guys the situation of how you record this, how you schedule it, and are you all always in the same room when something happens? What do you do to make an episode of Attack on Titan?
I'll use this season, for instance. It goes up subtitled and streaming and stuff like that sometime on Sunday.
Yeah.
I would say that we have materials to work with a little before that, and I get some sort of idea of who I need and for how long by Wednesday evening. Mm-hmm. And we start scheduling people, and then Thursday morning we start, and by the following Wednesday, it's complete.
Wow. When do you get a script, and how do you prepare to do that? I know you really live in these roles. You do them weekly. From episode to episode, when do you figure out what you're going to say, and how do you convey that, or how do you prep for it? Trina, we can start with you on this one.
I just love that, when you were asking the question, both Bryce and I got giant smiles. We were like, so what's really amazing about dubbing and about Funimation and about specifically working on Attack on Titan is that Mike has allowed both myself and Bryce to kind of journey through this world with the characters. It's been such an amazing experience and so very special to myself, and from Bryce's smile, I'm going to say to Bryce too. But it has been really, we don't get the scripts in advance. And I've been fortunate enough to work with Mike on a few other projects prior to Attack on Titan, Evangelion and Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood. Cool. And so I kind of, Mike allowed me to go through the the entirety of the story as it unfolded. So I avoided spoilers, which is much harder than you would think. But I'm sure Mike can speak more to that than I can. I'm looking at him, but this would be looking at him, but I see him here. But, I'm looking at you, Mike.
Obviously, the manga comes out first. So the manga is the first thing that I start with. I started season 1 by watching the anime, and there was a gap between 1 and 2, and that became read the manga time in order to, figure out what's going to happen story-wise. So I've known for a little bit how everything unfolds, and the manga continued to come out, I think, through like 2020, I believe. With Eren and with Mikasa and a lot of the main cast, if they want to know things, or if they're like desperate, like I have to know this, and like I will tell you, but it is a spoiler. Do you want to know this? And I'll leave them a moment or two to decide yes or no. Most of the time, they're like, no, I'm going to find out the same way that if I was watching this, and I want to find out in the moment that I'm recording it in the booth so that I can have that emotional state to go into my performance.
Yeah, avoid everything on the internet. There's spoilers everywhere.
Trina, I wanted to talk about Mikasa a little bit because Mikasa, as you said, is very different from your normal speaking voice. What would you say is the biggest challenge of voicing Mikasa, and what are your favorite parts of voicing the character?
I think the biggest challenge in voicing Mikasa is that you have to fit a lot of context into very few words. In fact, we were recording, I think it was a few days ago, we were recording, and Mike and I were talking about the scene, and he was explaining some things, and we were going through all of these different scenarios and all of this information. And then it was like, okay, and now it's the line, and it was a 2-word line. And I was like, I need to say all of these things in 2 words. Yeah. Cool. And I think that's also my favorite part about Mikasa is that in general in life, we're only afforded a certain amount of time, right, to express ourselves in an efficient and effective way. And if you were to take away civilization and put yourself into the world of Attack on Titan, where every moment is life or death, that time is much shorter. Mikasa at her core is devoted to her adopted family, and she's devoted to, helping her tribe. And I think that coupled with, how much love she has, and how much she's been through, and how all of the trauma and all of the things that she's been through doesn't change who she is at her core, is what I love the most about her.
Talking to Bryce specifically, and the kind of very different voices that Eren can take. And I think the big transition here is right from season 3 to the final season when, he's a bit all grown up, a bit less of a talker, bit more into war crimes. But what was your transition like from the young, like bombastic, very yelly kind of Eren to the more stoic kind of Eren that we have in the final 2 parts of the last season?
Yeah, I've played Eren 4 very different ways. Yeah. Itty bitty Eren, angsty teenage Eren, much bigger Eren, and now this newest version of Eren. And coming up with the voice was very much a collaboration between Mike and I. I was really fortunate in that I had been exploring my lower register with another character before this final season of Attack on Titan came back. So I had been experimenting with different things. Typically, the kind of characters I play kind of skew younger because I describe my voice as Benjamin Button voice acting disease, where it hasn't changed since middle school. So recently I've had more opportunities to explore that lower range, and it was really exciting to be able to do that with Eren. We had no idea that was going to happen. I was totally shocked when I discovered, what was going on and, that really big change. But yeah, I think a good way to describe, how different this is. We had a running joke going through season 1 up until, the end of season 3. Armin, another character played by Josh Greeley, he's incredible, has a much a higher pitched voice than Aaron, and is the thinker of the group, always knows the right things.
Right.
So Aaron would say something like, let's go kill them. And immediately I would do my impression of Armin going, Aaron, no! Aaron, no! That's how I would describe him the first 3 seasons. Aaron, no. And in this season, he's thinking about these things. He's being clever about the way he's rolling out his strategy. And Aaron doing that is absolutely terrifying. Now, as a viewer and someone who has loved the character for so long, and I do not know the ending, I have not read the manga, I'm questioning his motives and what he's doing, but I still want the best for him. I'm hoping that there's some reason for him to be doing these things, even though it's looking darker and darker.
Since you guys haven't really been diving deep into spoilers, do you have any ideas on how the series is going to end, do you think? No.
Mike knows it all.
Collective, and Mike's like, oh boy, do I.
I have guessed the twists and turns wrong every step of the way.
Yeah,
so I would not be confident. I would, yeah, seriously. But knowing that Mike, he holds all the answers and he's giving us these nuggets only when we need them, feels really great, knowing that we have such a great, captain and director steering the ship.
I've been kind of watching back. I've watched the sub version. I've watched the dub version. Something very specific is different in both versions, which I didn't anticipate it being very different. And that's the Titan screams. Whenever a Titan yells in the Japanese version, it's distinctly different from the American version, which is kind of more of it sounds more like a monster, to me at least, in the English dub version. Who does the Titan screams in the English dub? And I'm surprised. Did you think about porting them from the Japanese sub at any point?
The actors for each of the Titans that can shift perform the Titan screams as well.
Wow.
And for the random other ones, I mean, it really just depends. But as far as like the Titans that can go back and forth, I don't want to spoil it for anyone who hasn't seen very much in the show, but there is an armored Titan that you meet in episode 1, and there's a colossal Titan you meet in episode 1. And whoever those Titans happen to be, as far as like, are they not people, et cetera, et cetera. The same actor plays the large version as well as the people size.
Tell the Rob story.
Ooh, what's the Rob story?
There is an actor named Rob who may or may not play a Titan. But every so often there'll be, I think it's only happened once or twice where I'm like, okay, you can do it right here because it makes sense. There's enough effects on the voice where by the time that it hits a mix, it's just, you can hear all these things that are kind of dinosaur and monster and a whole bunch of other things all kind of stacked up sounding. But if there's any words being said, you're not going to be able to tell. Well, the word Rob is close enough to roar, where this person named Rob sometimes goes Rob for his roar.
The Rob roar.
Yeah, but by the time it's mixed, it doesn't sound like that. I mean, now that the info's out there, there's going to be someone like, it's this one. Like, you can't. Yeah, there's too many effects on it.
Considering that we have the actors themselves doing the Titan roars, how many times would you say that you've had to do an Attack Titan roar for the years? Do you have to do them every episode, or do you kind of bank the sound files and kind of recycle them?
There's no banking of sound files. There is only screaming as loud as possible whenever needed. Going in, I knew the intensity and I knew what I was getting myself into, and I was willing to take myself there. But I've been very physical through this show. There's moments where Aaron bites his hand in season 1. I bit my hand so hard I left bruises, but it sounds real. In season 2, Aaron's extremely unhinged. So I literally unhinged my jaw during recording to let that pain and suffering and that insanity come through, because it's what this show deserves.
I had somebody in the chat, Exital, ask about what your personal favorite moments for your characters are.
If I may soapbox for a moment.
Please.
I think for me, having been dubbing for so long and having watched female characters change so drastically from when I first began voice acting to now, I think all of Mikas's fighting scenes are amazing because when I started, female protagonist was never the most skilled fighter, and she was never. Her motivations were always very different than what Mikasa's are. And I think that shift in general, not only in the world of Attack on Titan, and in anime, but in our collective cultures and psyches across the world, is really special to me. To be able to play a female character that's strong and that fights and that isn't the typical gender specific thing that a girl should be is very special to me. And to that note, Attack on Titan tackles a lot of gender role issues, socioeconomic inequality issues, and other issues throughout that are prevalent throughout all of society and all of mankind. So I guess the fighting scenes are my favorite, even though they're the hardest to record vocally and like the saddest for me. Like scary, gory stuff is not my cup of tea, but being able to watch a female character like fight and be the most skilled fighter has been very special to me in my career.
And Mike, talking a little bit about Jean as well. Can you talk a little bit about your experience voicing Jean and the transition to the final season, given that, when Jean started out very much like a interior kind of guy, wants the military police, but now craves more freedom and craves more of a life for himself. What's been your experience?
I feel like Jean would be the character that, like, the most like everyman, thinking man, whatever you want to say, would aim for. Like, oh, if I'm good enough, I can be the safest. I want that. Like I would like to be in this area of the safest place that I could be and not die and not be, find my life shortened inside the jaws of a giant creature. But then as you go along and train and you find out that you're actually really good at these skills and not just good for the sake of getting out of it, you have that ongoing like Spider-Man mantra mentality of like, with great power, responsibility, like with great skill comes the responsibility to use it to the betterment of mankind and to the betterment of your friends and family. And I think that reluctantly, because you see him like, ugh, like so many times, like, all right, fine, I'll go do it. Like he grows to be where I think that he takes on that responsibility willingly and sometimes in a loving way. Like he cares about the people around him, whether or not he's going to say it to their face, because he's probably not. But he cares about his tribe. He cares about his people, and he does want to do the right thing and not just the right thing for himself.
Guys, I've had a great time speaking with you today, and I could honestly make it go for another hour if I wanted to. But,
is it time already?
Yeah, it's time already. But I know, right? I just wanted to thank you all so much for being here with us today. Bryce, Trina, Mike, wish you the best in finishing up the dub for the final season and what lies beyond. I hope we have you back on someday. So thanks for being here, y'all.
Thanks for having us.
Thanks for having us.
Much.
Bye.